My wife looked me in the eyes and said, "Don't touch me. Don't initiate. Wait for me." So I did. 7 days of silence. 14 days of distance. 30 days of nothing. When I finally packed a bag, my phone blew up with voicemails. This was a test. I texted back. Then this is the result. But before I begin, please like and subscribe to the channel. And we'd love to hear which part of the world are you joining us from. Let us know. Now, let's dive into today's story. The house on Birchwood Drive sat at the edge of Maple Creek, Ohio, where front lawns stretched green and uniform, where neighbors waved from porches, and where everyone somehow knew when a marriage started to crack. It was the kind of town where secrets didn't stay buried long, where a car parked too long in the wrong driveway became Sunday gossip, where the absence of a wedding ring at the grocery store meant something. Andrew Cole stood at the kitchen counter on a Sunday evening in late September, watching steam rise from his coffee mug. He was 46 years old, an operations supervisor in a manufacturing plant 30 miles north. His hands were steady as he lifted the cup. They were always steady. That steadiness had carried him through 2 decades of marriage, through the birth of 2 children, through promotions and mortgage payments, and the slow, careful construction of a life that looked stable from every angle. Outside, the evening light faded to purple. The maple tree in the backyard swayed gently, leaves just beginning to turn. Inside, the house was quiet except for the hum of the refrigerator and the distant sound of a television upstairs where his son was probably avoiding homework. Lauren walked into the kitchen without looking at him. She moved to the sink, rinsed a glass, set it in the dishwasher. Her movements were precise, controlled. She'd always been like that, organized, deliberate. It was one of the things that had drawn him to her 20 years ago. Back then, her precision had felt like compatibility. Now it felt like calculation. She turned to face him. Her dark hair was pulled back, her expression unreadable. "I need to tell you something," she said. Andrew set down his coffee. "Okay, don't touch me." Her voice was flat, matter of fact. "Don't initiate anything. Don't try to fix this. Just wait for me." The words hung in the air between them. Andrew's pulse didn't quicken. His breathing stayed even. He learned a long time ago that visible reactions gave people power, that emotions could be weaponized if you let them show. "Okay," he said. Lauren's eyes narrowed slightly, as if she'd expected something different. An argument, maybe, anger, pleading. But Andrew just stood there, one hand resting on the counter, his face calm. "That's it?" she asked. "You said not to try to fix it. So I won't." She stared at him for another moment, then picked up her phone from the counter, face down, always face down lately, and walked out of the kitchen. Her footsteps were soft on the hardwood floor, then silent as she reached the carpeted stairs. Andrew stayed where he was. He took another sip of coffee. It had gone lukewarm. That wasn't weakness. It was information. The next morning, Andrew drove to work in silence. No radio, no podcast, just the sound of tires on asphalt and the rhythmic thump of the road seems beneath him. His mind moved through the previous night's conversation with the same methodical precision he applied to quality control reports at the plant. "Don't touch me. Don't initiate. Don't try to fix this." The phrasing was specific, controlled. It wasn't a moment of anger or frustration spilling over. It was a declaration, a set of rules being imposed. And rules, Andrew knew, were only created when someone needed to control an outcome. He parked in his usual spot at the plant, grabbed his lunch cooler from the passenger seat, and walked across the lot. The morning air smelled like diesel and wet concrete. Inside, fluorescent lights buzzed overhead as he made his way to his office. A small room with a metal desk, a filing cabinet, and a window that looked out over the production floor. His assistant supervisor, Derek, knocked on the doorframe around 9. "Morning. Got the numbers from last week's output. We're up 3%. "Good," Andrew said, taking the printout. "Any quality flags?" "2. Both from a beeline. Already addressed." "Thanks." Derek hesitated. "You okay? You seem, I don't know, quiet." Andrew looked up. "I'm always quiet." "Yeah, but this is different quiet." "I'm fine," Andrew said, and turned back to the printout. Derek left. Andrew wasn't fine, but fine was relative. Fine meant functional. Fine meant capable of doing his job, making decisions, maintaining the appearance of normalcy. And appearances mattered, especially now. At home that evening, Lauren was already in the bedroom when Andrew arrived. The door was closed. He could hear the shower running. He noticed that too, how she showered the moment she got home now, as if washing something away. He went to the kitchen, started dinner. Chicken breast, rice, steamed broccoli. Simple, repeatable. The kids would be home soon. Noah arrived first, dropping his backpack by the door with a heavy thud. He was 16, tall like Andrew, with Lauren's dark eyes and sharp jawline. He grabbed an apple from the counter and bit into it. "Mom home?" he asked. "Upstairs." Noah nodded, said nothing more, and headed to his room. Mia came in 20 minutes later, her blonde hair in a ponytail, her backpack covered in band stickers. She was 12, still young enough to expect things to make sense, old enough to notice when they didn't. "Where's Mom?" she asked, setting her backpack on a chair. "Getting cleaned up. Dinner's almost ready. She's never here for dinner anymore." Andrew plated the chicken, kept his voice neutral. "She's been busy with work. She works at a bank. Banks close at 5. Sometimes there are meetings." Mia frowned but didn't push. She pulled out her phone and started scrolling. Lauren came downstairs just as Andrew was setting the table. Her hair was damp, her expression distant. She sat down without a word. They ate in near silence. Noah stabbed at his rice. Mia asked about a school project. Lauren's phone buzzed twice, and both times she glanced at it immediately, her fingers twitching toward the screen before she caught herself. Andrew watched. He didn't comment. He simply filed it away with everything else: the late arrivals, the showers, the guarded phone, the sudden need for space. Data points. Patterns. After dinner, Lauren retreated to the bedroom again. Noah went back upstairs. Mia helped Andrew clear the table, her movements slow, deliberate. "Dad," she said quietly. "Yeah." "Is Mom mad at you?" Andrew rinsed a plate, set it in the dishwasher. "Why do you ask? She won't even look at you." "Your mom's going through something," Andrew said. "But it's nothing for you to worry about." Mia didn't look convinced, but she nodded and went to do her homework. Andrew finished cleaning the kitchen. He wiped down the counters, took out the trash, checked the locks on the doors. Routine. Order. The things that kept chaos contained. Later, he sat in the living room with his laptop, reviewing spreadsheets for work. Lauren's footsteps creaked above him. He heard the bedroom door open, then close. Heard her voice, muffled, talking to someone on the phone. The conversation lasted 12 minutes. He didn't need to hear the words. The tone told him enough, soft, relaxed, laughing once or twice. She hadn't laughed in this house in weeks. 5 days passed, then 10, then 15. Lauren spoke to him only when necessary. "Can you pick up Mia? We're out of milk. The cable bill is due." Transactional. Functional. Nothing more. Andrew responded with the same flat efficiency. "Okay, I'll get it. I'll pay it." At night, she slept on her side of the bed with her back to him, her phone charging on the nightstand, screen always facing down. Sometimes he heard it vibrate with incoming messages. Sometimes she reached for it in the middle of the night, the glow illuminating her face briefly before she set it back down. Andrew didn't ask. He didn't confront. He simply observed. He noticed how she started wearing perfume again, something she hadn't done in years. How she bought new clothes, fitted blouses, tailored pants, and spent longer getting ready in the mornings. How she checked her appearance in the rearview mirror before leaving the car, adjusting her hair, reapplying lipstick. These weren't the behaviors of someone pulling away from a relationship. They were the behaviors of someone entering one. On day 23, Andrew received a text from Lauren at 4 in the afternoon. "Working late. Don't wait up." He replied, "Okay." She didn't come home until 11:30. He was awake when she arrived, lying in bed, reading a report on his tablet. She slipped into the bathroom, and he heard the shower turn on. When she finally climbed into bed, she smelled like soap and shampoo. Not perfume. Not anymore. Andrew turned off the tablet, set on the nightstand. The room fell dark except for the faint streetlight glow through the window. "Long day?" he asked. "Yeah. Must be an important project." She didn't answer. Andrew rolled onto his side, facing away from her. His breathing stayed calm. His heart rate stayed steady. Information, he reminded himself. Just information. On day 31, Andrew packed a bag. It was a Saturday morning. Lauren had gone to run errands, taking her phone and her purse, and leaving without saying when she'd be back. The kids were at friends' houses. The house was silent. Andrew walked to the bedroom closet and pulled out a duffel bag. He packed methodically. 3 days of clothes, toiletries, phone charger, laptop. He didn't rush. He didn't hesitate. He left the bag on the bed where Lauren would see it immediately when she came home. Then he drove to a budget hotel on the edge of town, checked in, and sat on the bed in the small, plain room. He pulled out his phone and sent a single text to Lauren. "I'll be at the Riverside Inn. Let me know when you're ready to talk honestly." Her response came within 2 minutes. "What are you doing?" Andrew didn't reply. 3 minutes later. "This is ridiculous." Still nothing. 5 minutes. "Andrew, answer me." He set the phone face down on the nightstand and turned on the television. Some cop drama he didn't recognize. He watched without really seeing it. An hour later, his phone rang. He let it go to voicemail. Another hour. Another call. Another voicemail. On the third call, he answered. "This was a test," Lauren said immediately. Her voice was sharp, panicked. "Andrew, this was a test. You were supposed to fight for me." Andrew leaned back against the headboard. "A test?" "Yes. I needed to know you still cared. By telling me not to touch you, not to talk to you, not to try. You were supposed to fight through that." Andrew closed his eyes. "Tests don't belong in marriage, Lauren. Don't do this. I already have." "Andrew." He ended the call. She tried twice more that evening. He didn't answer. She left another voicemail, her voice breaking now, pleading. He deleted it without listening to the whole message. By Sunday night, Andrew was back home. Lauren's car wasn't in the driveway. The kids were asleep. He walked through the quiet house, locking doors, turning off lights, and when he climbed into bed, the sheets on Lauren's side were cold. 3 months earlier, Lauren had asked Andrew for help transferring photos from her old phone to their shared laptop. "It's running out of storage," she'd said, handing him the phone. "Can you just copy everything over?" "Sure." He connected the phone to the laptop and opened the file manager. The photo library was massive. Years of family pictures, vacation shots, random snapshots. He started the transfer, watching the progress bar creep slowly toward completion. While he waited, he opened a folder to check the file structure. That's when he saw it, a video file dated 3 weeks prior. The thumbnail showed Lauren's face, her head tilted back, her eyes closed. Andrew's pulse didn't spike. He didn't gasp or curse or feel his hand shake. He clicked on the file. The video was 43 seconds long. Lauren, in a hotel room he didn't recognize, with a man Andrew had never seen. The camera angle suggested she'd been filming. The audio was muted, but the content was explicit. Andrew stopped the video after 10 seconds. He didn't need to see more. He opened the folder fully. There were 6 more videos. Different dates, different locations, some with the same man, one with someone different. Andrew sat very still. The laptop screen glowed in front of him. Downstairs, he could hear Lauren talking to Mia about something, their voices light, casual. He didn't close the laptop. He didn't delete the files. Instead, he created a new folder on his personal external hard drive, the one he used for work backups. He copied every video, every photo with a questionable timestamp, every file that might become relevant. He documented the dates, the locations when he could identify them, the metadata embedded in each file. Then he closed the laptop, unplugged the phone, and went downstairs. "All set," he told Lauren, handing her the phone. "Thanks," she said, smiling. Andrew smiled back. He didn't mention what he'd found. Not then. Not the next day. Not the next month. Because accusations without proof created chaos. And chaos was the enemy of control. The day after Andrew stayed at the hotel, he opened a new checking account. He did it during his lunch break, walking into a different bank across town, one where Lauren didn't work. The process took 20 minutes. The banker asked if he wanted to link it to any existing accounts. "No," Andrew said. "Keep it separate." "Sure thing. Anything else we can help with today?" "Not right now." He left with a temporary debit card and instructions for online access. That afternoon, he logged into his employer's payroll system and changed his direct deposit information. Effective immediately, his paychecks would go to the new account. Not all of it. That would be too obvious. But 70%. Enough to matter. He transferred a month's worth of household expenses into the joint account, ensuring the mortgage, utilities, and basic costs would be covered. But everything beyond that, his discretionary income, his savings contributions, went elsewhere. The next day, he called their credit card companies. "I'd like to freeze new charges on this account. May I ask why, Mr. Cole?" "Fraud prevention. I noticed some unusual activity and want to be cautious." "Of course. We'll flag the account immediately." He did the same for their home equity line. Froze it, locked it down, left a note in the system explaining he'd requested the freeze, so there would be documentation. Then he changed the beneficiaries on his life insurance and retirement accounts. Where Lauren's name had been, he wrote Noah Cole and Mia Cole. He saved copies of every form, every confirmation email, every transaction record. Lauren noticed within 3 days. She called him at work, her voice tight. "What did you do?" "I separated our finances." You didn't even discuss this with me." "You told me not to try to fix things," Andrew said calmly. "This isn't fixing. It's protecting." "Protecting what?" "My stability. Our credit cards aren't working. They're frozen. Fraud prevention." "This is insane." "Is it?" Silence on the other end. "Then I want access back." "Then we need to have a real conversation, Lauren. An honest one." She hung up. Andrew worked late that Thursday, staying until the production floor emptied and the overhead lights dimmed. When he finally drove home, it was past 9. Lauren's car was gone. Inside, Noah was microwaving leftovers, his expression flat. "Where's your mom?" Andrew asked. "Her parents' place. She said she's staying there for a while." Andrew set down his keys. "She say why?" "No, but she took a bunch of stuff." "You okay?" Noah shrugged. "I guess." Andrew heated up his own dinner and sat at the kitchen table across from his son. They ate in silence for a while, the hum of the microwave winding down, the house settling around them. "Dad," Noah said eventually. "Yeah." "Are you guys getting divorced?" Andrew considered his answer carefully. "I don't know yet. Maybe. Because of something you did." "No." Noah nodded slowly, pushing rice around his plate. "Good." Mia came downstairs then, rubbing her eyes. "Is Mom coming back?" "Not tonight," Andrew said. "What?" "She needs some space." "Space from what?" "For me," Andrew said. "But not from you. She'll still see you." Mia's face crumpled slightly, but she didn't cry. She just climbed into Andrew's lap. Too big for it, really, but still small enough that he could hold her, and rested her head on his shoulder. "It's going to be okay," Andrew said quietly. He meant it. Lauren's parents called Andrew 2 days later. Her father, Richard, sounded uncomfortable. "Andrew, we need to talk about what's going on." "Okay." "Lauren says you cut her off financially. Says you're punishing her." "I separated our accounts," Andrew said. "I didn't cut her off. She still has access to the joint account with household funds. She says you froze the credit cards." "I did." After noticing unusual charges. "What kind of charges?" Andrew pulled up the credit card statements on his laptop. "Hotels, restaurants, places Lauren and I didn't go together." Richard was quiet for a moment. "She said those were work events. She works at a bank. Banks don't have overnight work events." "Andrew." "Richard, I'm not angry. I'm just being careful. If Lauren wants to explain those charges, I'm willing to listen. But until she does, I'm protecting myself." "This doesn't sound like you." "No," Andrew agreed. "It doesn't." He ended the call politely, then opened his records folder. He'd been compiling everything methodically. Credit card statements with suspicious charges highlighted, phone records showing unusual call patterns, calendar inconsistencies where Lauren claimed to be one place, but her digital footprint suggested another. No videos. Not yet. Those stayed locked away, a failsafe he hoped he'd never need to deploy. Richard called back a week later. "We found some things," he said quietly. "What things?" "Hotel charges on Lauren's personal card. Dates that overlap with family events she said she attended." "Andrew, I don't know what to say." "You don't have to say anything. We're not helping her fight this. Just so you know, I appreciate that. The kids, they're with me. They're fine. Richard exhaled slowly. Okay, okay. After the call ended, Andrew sat in his home office, staring at the wall. Outside, autumn had fully arrived. The maple tree in the backyard was almost bare, its leaves scattered across the lawn in shades of red and gold. He didn't feel victorious. He didn't feel vindicated. He just felt tired. On a cold Tuesday morning in mid-November, Andrew met with a divorce attorney. The office was in a nondescript building downtown, the kind of place that handled quiet legal matters for people who wanted discretion. The attorney, a woman named Janet Reese, was in her 50s with graying hair and sharp eyes. "Tell me what's going on," she said. Andrew laid it out methodically. The 30-day separation demand, the financial inconsistencies, the behavioral changes. He didn't mention the videos. Not yet. Janet took notes, her pen moving quickly across a yellow legal pad. "Do you want a divorce?" she asked. "Yes." "On what grounds?" "Irreconcilable differences. I have evidence of infidelity if needed." Janet looked up. "What kind of evidence?" "Video. Multiple instances. Dated and documented." She set down her pen. "Have you told anyone about this?" "No." "Good. Don't. Not until we file. If she knows you have it, she might try to claim coercion or manipulation. Let the courts see it first." "Understood. What do you want out of this, Andrew?" "Custody? Assets. Primary custody of the kids. They're better off with me. Stable home, stable income, stable routine. I'll split assets fairly, but I want the house. Any debt? Minimal. Mortgage, 1 car payment. No credit card debt." Janet nodded. "This should be straightforward. I'll draft the petition. We'll include the financial documentation and a summary of your evidence without revealing specifics. When we go to court, we'll present everything." "How long?" "If she contests, could be 6 months to a year. If she doesn't." Janet shrugged. "Faster." Andrew stood, shook her hand. "Thank you, Andrew," she said as he reached the door. "One more thing. Don't engage with her outside of documented communication. Emails, texts. No phone calls unless they're recorded. No in-person confrontations. Everything needs to be on record." "Understood." Andrew filed for divorce on November 20th. Lauren received the papers 3 days later. She called him immediately, her voice shaking. "You actually did it." "Yes." "Andrew, please. Can we talk?" "Through our attorneys." "This is insane. You're throwing away 20 years over." "Over what, Lauren?" She went silent. "I'll ask again," Andrew said. "Over what?" "I made a mistake." "Mistakes are singular. You made choices. Repeatedly." "Please." "No." He hung up. She tried calling back. He didn't answer. She sent texts, long, rambling messages about how they could fix this, how counseling could help, how she'd been confused and scared and didn't know what she was doing. Andrew read them all. He didn't respond. Instead, he forwarded them to Janet. "Document everything," she reminded him. "Let her spiral. It helps our case." Andrew didn't like that phrasing. Spiral. As if he took pleasure in watching someone fall apart. He didn't. But he also didn't stop it. December arrived with the first snow. The kids spent alternating weeks between houses now. A temporary arrangement until the court decided custody. Noah stayed mostly quiet, spending long hours in his room. Mia asked fewer questions, but Andrew could see the weight of it in her eyes. One evening, while Andrew was making dinner, Mia sat at the kitchen table doing homework. "Dad," she said. "Yeah." "Do you still love Mom?" Andrew paused, the knife in his hand hovering over a cutting board. It was a question he'd been expecting, but that didn't make it easier to answer. "That's complicated," he said finally. "That's not an answer." "No, it's not." He set down the knife, turned to face her. "I loved your mom for a long time. But love isn't enough if the person you love doesn't treat you with respect." "Did she hurt you?" "In a way." "Are you sad?" Andrew thought about that. Was he sad? He'd been so focused on logistics, on documentation, on the mechanics of separation, that he hadn't really stopped to check. "Sometimes," he admitted, "but mostly I'm just done." Mia nodded, like she understood, even though Andrew suspected she didn't. Not fully. How could she? She was 12. "I don't want to go to Mom's next week," she said quietly. "Why not?" "She's always crying. Or angry. Or on the phone. It's weird." Andrew knelt down next to her chair. "You know this isn't your fault, right?" I know. And you know your mom loves you. Mia's eyes welled up. Then why'd she break everything? Andrew didn't have a good answer for that. The man's wife found the videos in early January. Andrew didn't know how. He'd never sent them to anyone, never mentioned them outside of his attorney's office. But somehow the videos leaked, maybe from the man's phone, maybe from a cloud backup neither of them had secured properly. However it happened, the result was swift. The man's wife, a woman Andrew had never met, forwarded everything to HR at Lauren's bank. Not publicly, not to social media, just to the appropriate channels at her workplace. Lauren was terminated within a week. No public announcement, no scandal, just a quiet exit and a severance package tied to a non-disclosure agreement. Andrew found out when Lauren called him, sobbing. They fired me. Andrew was at his desk at work, reviewing production schedules. He set down his pen. Why? You know why. I didn't send anything to your employer, Lauren. But you had them. You must have. I didn't. She was crying hard now, struggling to speak. This is your fault. You ruined me. Andrew felt a flicker of something. Not quite guilt, not quite anger. Something in between. I didn't ruin you, he said quietly. You did that yourself. She hung up. Later that evening, Janet called. You hear about her job? She asked. Yeah, that helps us. Loss of income strengthens your case for primary custody. Courts like stability. I didn't want this, Andrew said. I know, but you didn't cause it either. She made her choices. Andrew stared out his office window at the empty production floor. Machines sat silent in the dim light. Sometimes I wonder if I should have tried harder, he said. Before it got this far, would it have mattered? I don't know. Andrew, listen to me. You can't fix someone who doesn't want to be fixed. You gave her a chance to be honest. She chose deception. This is the consequence. Andrew knew she was right, but knowing didn't make it easier. The custody hearing was in early February. Andrew sat at a polished table in a sterile courtroom, Janet beside him, a stack of documents in front of them. Across the aisle, Lauren sat with her attorney, a younger man who looked uncomfortable. The judge, a stern woman in her 60s, reviewed the case summary. Mr. Cole, you're seeking primary custody of Noah and Mia Cole, ages 16 and 12. Yes, Your Honor. On what basis? Stability. I've maintained consistent employment, consistent residence, and consistent involvement in their lives. My children have expressed a preference to live with me, primarily. The judge looked at Lauren. Mrs. Cole, you're contesting this? Lauren's attorney stood. Yes, Your Honor. Mrs. Cole has been a devoted mother for 16 years. Recent marital difficulties shouldn't disqualify her from equal custody. Marital difficulties, the judge repeated. That's one way to phrase it. She flipped through the documents. Andrew saw her pause on certain pages, the financial records, the timeline of inconsistencies, the written statements from the kids. Do the children want to testify? She asked. Janet stood. Noah has provided a written statement. Mia has as well. Both prefer not to appear in person. Let me see them. The bailiff brought the statements to the bench. The judge read them in silence. Her expression didn't change, but Andrew saw her jaw tighten slightly. She looked up. Mrs. Cole, your children don't trust you. Why is that? Lauren's attorney started to respond, but the judge held up a hand. I asked Mrs. Cole. Lauren stood slowly. Her hands were shaking. I made mistakes. I hurt their father, but I'm still their mother. Being a mother isn't just biology, the judge said. It's presence, reliability, trust. From what I'm reading here, you've been absent more often than present. You've prioritized other relationships over your family. You've created instability. I'm trying to fix that. Are you? The judge set down the papers. Because the evidence suggests otherwise. Lauren sat down, her face pale. The judge reviewed more documents. Mr. Cole, I'm granting you primary custody. Mrs. Cole will have supervised visitation every other weekend until the court is satisfied she's reestablished stability. This arrangement will be reviewed in 6 months. Lauren's attorney stood. Your Honor, supervised visitation is appropriate given the circumstances. The children have expressed discomfort and distrust. Until Mrs. Cole demonstrates consistent, reliable parenting, supervision is warranted. The gavel struck. Andrew exhaled slowly. Beside him, Janet squeezed his shoulder. Across the aisle, Lauren was crying. Spring came slowly. The snow melted, revealing brown grass and scattered debris. Andrew spent his weekends with the kids, Noah mostly doing his own thing, Mia slowly returning to her old self. Lauren's supervised visits were tense. She'd meet them at a neutral location, a community center with a social worker present. She tried too hard, asked too many questions, made promises she couldn't keep. After one visit, Mia climbed into Andrew's car and said, "I don't want to go anymore." "Why not?" "She keeps saying things will go back to normal." "But they won't, will they?" "No," Andrew said. "They won't." "Good." Noah stopped going after 3 visits. He simply refused, and the court didn't force him. At 16, his preference carried weight. Lauren sent Andrew angry texts about it. He forwarded them to Janet and didn't respond. The divorce finalized in April. Andrew kept the house, the cars, his retirement accounts. Lauren got her personal belongings, a portion of their joint savings, and a monthly support payment that would last 3 years. On the day the paperwork was signed, Lauren asked to meet him one last time. They sat in the parking lot of a coffee shop, both in their cars, windows rolled down so they could talk. Lauren looked exhausted. Not the kind of tired that came from a bad night's sleep, but the deep, bone-tired exhaustion of someone who'd lost everything and didn't know how to rebuild. "I didn't think it would end like this," she said. Andrew kept his hands on the steering wheel. "What did you think would happen?" "I don't know. I thought you'd forgive me. Eventually." "Why?" "Because that's what people do. They fight, and then they fix it. Not when there's nothing left to fix." She wiped her eyes. "Do you hate me?" Andrew thought about that. Hate required energy, emotion, investment. He felt none of those things when he looked at her now. "No," he said. "I don't hate you." "Then what?" "I removed you," he said simply. "From my life. From my future. You're the mother of my children, and I'll respect that. But beyond that, you don't exist to me anymore." Lauren stared at him. "That's so cold." "Maybe, but it's honest. You never forgave me." "I didn't need to." "Why not?" "Because forgiveness implies I wanted reconciliation." "I didn't. I just wanted the result." "Which was what?" "This," Andrew said, gesturing vaguely at the space between them. "Separation. Stability. Moving forward." She looked away, her hands gripping the steering wheel of her own car. "I lost everything." "You controlled the rules," Andrew said. "I controlled the response." She started to say something else, but Andrew rolled up his window. He didn't wait to see if she stayed or drove away. He just pulled out of the parking lot and headed home. Summer arrived warm and bright. Andrew took time off work to spend with the kids. They went camping, drove to the coast, spent lazy afternoons in the backyard. Noah loosened up a little, smiled more. Mia stopped asking about Lauren unless it was necessary. The house felt different now. Lighter, like a weight had been lifted. Andrew still thought about the past sometimes, about where things went wrong, about whether he could have seen it coming sooner. But those thoughts came less frequently, and when they did, they didn't linger. One evening, sitting on the back porch with a beer, Noah came outside and sat beside him. "You good, Dad?" he asked. "Yeah," Andrew said. "I'm good. You seem, I don't know, less stressed." "I probably am." Noah nodded, staring out at the yard. "I'm glad you didn't let her back." Andrew looked at his son. Yeah, I know it sounds harsh, but you're better without her." "We all are." Andrew didn't argue, because it was true. The final court review happened in September, almost a year after Lauren had told him not to touch her, not to try, not to fix anything. The judge reviewed the custody arrangement, the compliance records, the reports from the social workers. "Mrs. Cole," the judge said, "have you maintained stability over the past 6 months?" Lauren stood. "Yes, Your Honor. I found employment, I'm seeing a therapist, and I've been consistent with my visits." "Mr. Cole, any objections to modifying the visitation arrangement?" Andrew stood. "The kids are comfortable with the current arrangement. I like to leave it as is." The judge looked at the reports again. "I'm inclined to agree. Supervised visitation will continue for another 6 months, at which point we'll review again. If Mrs. Cole demonstrates continued stability and if the children express willingness, we can consider unsupervised visits." Lauren nodded, her face neutral. As they left the courthouse, She caught up with Andrew in the hallway. "Can I ask you something?" she said. Andrew stopped. "What? Do you ever miss me?" "Even a little." He looked at her, really looked at her. The woman he'd married 20 years ago. The woman he'd built a life with. The woman who'd thrown it all away for reasons he still didn't fully understand. "No," he said. "I don't." And he meant it. By the time fall returned, Andrew's life had settled into a rhythm. He worked. He parented. He maintained his routines. The house stayed clean. The bills got paid. The kids thrived. Lauren faded into the background. A presence on paper, a name on legal documents, someone the kids saw occasionally, but didn't miss when they didn't. Andrew didn't celebrate the divorce. He didn't gloat or feel victorious. He simply moved forward, because that's what he'd always done. One evening, sitting at the kitchen table with Mia, doing homework and Noah texting friends, Andrew realized he was content. Not happy in the exuberant way people talked about happiness, but content, stable, secure. He'd lost a marriage, but he'd kept his children, his reputation, his stability. And in the end, that was enough. Lauren had wanted a test. She got a result, just not the one she'd expected.